Hi guys, it's Brookelynne. Welcome to my channel. So if you're new here, thank you so much for stopping by. I upload videos twice a week on Tuesdays and on Fridays. Tuesdays is more lifestyle, Friday is more beauty related videos, and if you like the sound of that, why not subscribe to my channel and stay tuned for it. And if you're a return subscriber, thank you so much for continued love and support of my channel, and I really hope you enjoy my content. So let's get started. So today's video is going to be let's talk. So I'm going to do this video on life at 30. So if you don't know, I'm 30 years old. You're probably thinking I look younger. I'm joking. Yeah, well, I get told I look younger than 30, but I actually am 30 years old. Not the day. I was 30 in June, but I'm 30 now. I'm just being silly now, but that's just me. I filmed the video previous to this. It's another lifestyle video for Tuesdays, and I am wearing the same clothes if you're wondering that. And this video comes up a week after that one. I wore the same clothes and I don't care. It's the same day, I don't care. I'm getting some videos filmed, so I have some to back up for my lifestyle. Bra strap. I have loads and loads of beauty videos already scheduled to go up in the upcoming weeks, even months, but I don't have an awful lot of lifestyle. Well, I only have literally the one I've just filmed there now and this one, so I'm batch filming these ones too, just to kind of go along and have like a wee couple to kind of give me some breathing space until I can film some more, because I do like to film on Sundays. That's one of my filming days. It's a fun fact. I just find I film on Sundays because I have the makeup and all on. I'm kind of like dressed up a little bit. You know, you don't need to wear makeup to film a video, but I just like to wear makeup for a sit down video. That's just me. And Sundays, I'm guaranteed to always have makeup on. And because it's a family day, we'll go out the church and we'll go out to eat at lamppost and we'll do family things, and I always have makeup on. So yeah, Sunday's one of my favourite days of the week and it's a good filming day. So I'm going to get into this. So let's talk life at 30. So how did I find life at 30? Well, I've only been in this 30 decade for 6.5 months, nearly 7 months. And I find 30 is a different life stage than 20. Well, obviously they're kind of something a bit different. 20s I found was more about me getting to know myself and getting to experience life as an adult, even though I didn't feel truly like an adult until I got married in my late 20s. But life at 30 is more about kind of getting more settled down, even though I'm still young at heart, but getting more settled down. I'm hoping to have kids in my early 30s and getting to experience more married life and working and doing volunteering at the church and just spend time with loved ones, family and friends. And 30s is definitely like my decade. Like, well, obviously we started it, but it's more the common decade where everyone kind of starts, well, not everyone, kind of generalizing this, but most people start their families and they haven't already, and they're kind of getting into family life and a bit more mature adulthood. Even though I don't really, half the time I don't really feel like still feel like I'm a teenager part of the time, even though I'm not. Well, I would say more in my 20s I felt like an extension of my teenage years. I always joke about this to my friends. I always say, because I am doing life at 30 versus 20s and teens, so it's kind of going how I find 30 the previous 2 decades. I always joke with my friends with 20s. I always said my 20s is like I'm a teenager, like an extended decade of being a teenager, and it kind of was true until I met and married my husband and kind of started our own family for dogs. Now I feel like I'm an adult. Even though I don't really feel my age, I still feel like I'm younger than 30. I feel like I'm maybe 25. I don't feel like I'm 30. I feel like more than 25, but still have that teenage side to me, that young at heart side to me. Even still that kid side to me when I get all hyper and like just get on like a balloon. But life is 30. So like I think everyone seems to think, right, I'm 30 now, I need to grow up. Like I need to do this and do that and do all sorts in that kind of expectancy age range, which not everyone's at that level, and like there is pressure of going into your 30s with all sorts of things if you're not at that milestone. So I'll get into that, but I'm more going to go into like continue on about the comparison between my 20s and my teens and my 30s. So I found my teens were more like I was more of a late mature, like a mature later like than average, because I was more like early teens. I was definitely still more talk. Who's talk? I found more in my early teens. I felt more like a child. I still had the mind of someone a few years younger than me, and I felt like I was still stuck in my childhood, but also trying to grow up as well. I was kind of watching more teen, like preteen series. Like I remember watching like the Disney Channel, like Lizzie McGuire, Laughs of Raven, and acting like a teenager and wanting to be like a teenager, but still having that child mindset where I don't know or didn't know as much as I know now, but I thought I knew it all, but I didn't. Like all teenagers, not trying to hate if you're a teenager, no hate, but you're always learning in life, you know, even when you're like in your 80s and 90s, if you get to live that long, if you're lucky enough to live that long, you're always learning even then. So yeah. But I was just like, yeah, whatever, teenager. That's where I was getting on. And obviously I was still in school, and I kinda, well, primary, like I did like school. I was like more them fun day trips and stuff, you go to school, but teenagers like school Monday morning, that kind of thing. And I was just like, I can't wait to get out, I can't wait to explore the world, I can't wait to grow up. I want to grow up, even though I was still very, very immature. I want to grow up. I can't wait to be this age, I can't wait to be that age. And I still hadn't experienced a lot of things, like experienced like adult teenage life, and I was kind of like partly a teenager in my early teens, but partly still like a child. Well, technically, if you're under 16, you're a child. So yeah, where my older teen years are starting to grow up a bit more. I was getting a bit more mature, even though I was still very immature, very dramatic. I'll not lie, I was a very dramatic, petty person. I wish I could slap my teenage self for being like that. Jokes. But yeah, even have some videos back when I was that age, like around my late teens, 17, 18, 19, I cringed them videos. I'm like, why did I say that? And I had YouTube and all back then, like a previous channel, I would put them videos up on YouTube. Why? I sound so dopey and embarrassed in that. It's like, my goodness. And more my late teens, I was more getting a bit more in the world and going out with friends and obviously clubbing and stuff like that and nights out. And I was starting college. I was in college for like 8 odd years doing different courses into my 20s and all. So teens were more like just kind of growing into teenager. And then as I got into my 20s, obviously late teens, a few dopey boyfriends in school. Yeah, we've all been there. We've all been them dope relationships we have in school that mean really nothing, but back then they meant everything. It's all part of growing up. But yeah, into my 20s, I still had the mind of a teenager. Still hadn't really grew up well, especially my early 20s. I did have, in my 20s, I did have my first serious relationship. Engagement, I'll not get into that because I don't want to dredge up the past, but I'm just telling how it is, how my 20s were. So it's more about exploring life and relationships and all. I felt it gained the most experience and maturity in my 20s, and just the grown up phase. It took me a lot of hard lessons to mature. Still, I'm a bit immature. Like, I don't act like the average 30-year-old to get like on like much younger. Like, I'm like, but hey ho, just more young at heart. But I have grew up a lot. I still have some growing to do, I know that. But yeah, in my 20s I found it was more like just more nights out, obviously going to college, meeting new friends, and just getting more experience of being a bit more growing up more, and not being as petty and dramatic and overreacting about things, even though I did do my fair share of that in my 20s, I'm not gonna lie. But I found my 20s were like definitely more of an extension of my teenage years. I was up until I was 27, 28 is when that like changed for me. Like the point where I became a Christian, and I started going with Connor, met him like a year before. Started going with Connor, and obviously we got serious and stuff. And then now I'm married, and got married in my late 20s, so 28 coming to 29, and we moved in and stuff like that. And then by that point I felt like I wasn't a teenager anymore. Even though I hadn't technically been a teenager for like 9 years, like 9 years. That's when I finally left my, sorry I'm playing at this bobble thing, teenage years behind. Like at 26, 27 and even 28 I was still getting on like an 18-year-old, going to nightclubs and with my friends and partying. I wasn't, well, I did have, this is before I was a Christian and all, well, I did have a fair share of like bad drinking experiences before I learnt my lesson and learnt my limits on drinking. I think we all kind of have that phase where when I was drinking, don't care, but now I know it's not right. And I do have a few drinks now, but I don't get myself drunk or anything because it's not worth it. And I have a few embarrassing stories from my 20s. You have all that when you're growing up in your teens and 20s, you have all that. And if I would go back, I wouldn't do that, but you can't really change it, but you just grow and learn from it. So yeah, 20s I find, well, my life isn't that much different from the very late 20s until now, but it is different from, I would say, mid to early 20s and teens. From then it's, well, from teens to my 30s it's a lot different, because obviously I was still growing up and I wasn't living with my husband, I was living with the family, and even up until I moved in with my husband I was still living with my family and stuff like that. And yeah, so I feel like when most people in their 20s do move out on their own or with partners, you do have partners, and I feel like most people are like teenagers until they move out. Even if they do move out, they still kind of feel like they're teenagers still. But I feel like for me, is when I moved out is when I felt like an adult, like a proper, I was not a teenager anymore. Yes, I still had like nights out, people still do even when they're a lot older, and I probably still will just with friends, stuff like that, but you don't really feel like a teenager anymore. I feel most people feel like they're not a teenager anymore when they move out and move in with their partners, and that's what happened for me. Like, I remember when me and my husband got Horton, my wee Frenchie. I call my son, well, he is my son, even though he's a dog, but my French bulldog son. I'm a Frenchie mom. Hello, any Frenchie moms out here, or any fellow Frenchie moms out here. But yeah, I remember when me and Connor got Horton, and I remember during the hard puppy stage when he was acting up and we didn't have a clue. how to deal. And I remember we were thinking, wait, who's responsible adults for him? And we're like, wait, we are. I'm sure people who've had kids have felt the same way, because normally before you move out and you have all this responsibility, you're like, wait, like before that you have someone like your family members who you're like responsible adults, but when you move into your own house and you basically have your own family, like obviously I say Connor and Horton and Nova are my immediate family because we're in a family unit, and I was like, who's the responsible adult here for him? I am. Me and Connor are. We are. And that was like defining moment. Love, you're not a teenager anymore. You're actually responsible for another being. Another, well, I call him person, Horton. He does have a soul, so technically he is. So another person. So not a teenager anymore. So obviously if you're a teenage parent then you are responsible for another person, but it was just like that defining moment. You're not a teenager anymore, you're growing up now. So even though I had a friend, she was living, God rest her soul, wee Sipa, who was living at home with family. I had her, just dead now unfortunately, like she died nearly 4 years ago. I'm not going to get into that or I'll cry, but I had obviously family members to help with her. But when I got Horton, and because I missed Eva's puppy stage when she must have been a crazy puppy, I didn't get to know how actually hard it is to look after a puppy whilst just doing your husband. It's like a step down from having kids. Even now he's crazy. He's calmed down a lot, Horton, but it's like having kids. It really, really is. Like if I see people saying, oh, dogs are so easy, all you have to do is feed them, let them out to the toilet, wash them, like just do basic stuff for them and they're fine, take them out for walks. No, they're more hard work than that. More hard work, trust me. If people say, oh, dogs are so easy, no, I'm joking, but yeah, they're hard work. And I'm getting off topic, but I'm just talking like by the final moment when I realised I was not a teenager anymore, even though I technically wasn't for like 8 years before that. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, 8-9 years before that. So life at 30, it hasn't really changed that much since I turned 30. Obviously, like the major life changes happened a year or so before that. So I would say it's very similar to my late 20s, like my 30s. It's like, well, this time in my 30s, I haven't got right into my 30s, so I can't really tell you any different. Maybe in about 8 years' time, when I'm like about to approach the 40s, no, I'd be screaming I'm gonna get to that point. Well, even though getting older is actually a blessing. Like people always say, oh, I'm getting older and all, but actually, if you're lucky enough to live that long, it's a blessing. But when I get to that stage where I'm approaching 40, say for instance, when I'm like maybe 37, 38, 39, I might do like a repeat video of this, like a follow-up, like if the channel like Let's Talk still going, which probably it will be because there's loads of things I could just talk and talk for hours on end about. And when that's still going, it will be still going, and I can do a follow-up and I can tell you my experiences, because obviously, God willing, by that point I'll have my kids. I'll have experience of what it's like to be a real parent, a real parent, and I have experience about raising a child, and also with my experience of raising a dog too. And I'll have more life experiences with stuff, like with more work experience and stuff like that, and like more life experience, more like kind of traveling with my husband and kids. I'll have all them experiences hopefully behind my back, God willing, and I'll be able to give a follow up and say how the 30s have actually been for me, and God willing, they're good to me. Because my 20s, I found my 20s, teens and 20s were a big mad roller coaster. Like the teens were more like just kind of more like getting through that stage of puberty. Obviously, you had all them hormones going around, and you're changing. I was changing from like a girl to a woman, and all that. I had to deal with all them mood swings and all. I was terrible. Trust me. The fights me and my siblings used to have were all teenagers. Apart from the youngest, we were all teenagers, and whoo, that house was mad full. Teenagers running around. Like, I think there's obviously differences between your teens and your 20s. Teens are like just growing into an adult, and your 20s you're figuring out who you actually are. You think you know who you are as a teenager, but you kind of know, but you don't really know. Like, I find your core personality that doesn't really change that much, but like what your beliefs are and what like how you feel the world does change, and your experiences kind of shape you, I believe, definitely. And I find obviously experiences in the teenage years, you kind of go for your first kind of adult, that weird stage, like experience, like schooling, like exams and everything, like the stress of exams. Ooh. I had them for my 20s with like college stuff like that, but your GCSEs, well, in the UK, GCSEs, like your major exams for A levels and stuff. The stress of studying for them, which half the time, there's times I couldn't be bothered to study some nights, and I was like, I have to flip study for my GCSEs. I remember them days. If you can relate, you know what it was all about. The school I went to a school for people who are visually impaired and hearing impaired. I actually am severely visually impaired, so I went to like a special educational school. So it was quite a small school, so I didn't really get to have as many experiences as a normal teenager would. Like, it was quite a sheltered kind of teenagehood, whereas with 20s it kind of it was like a more proper teenager in those 20. So my 20s were definitely more that roller coaster, that mad up and down roller coaster. That's what it was like, riding a big roller coaster. There was dramatic highs and also dramatic lows, and I learned loads of lessons in that decade, definitely. Like, even though like I do have a similar type of like my core personality is still there, it's a lot more kind of growing up and of like developed as a person. But life experiences have kind of shaped me into who I am, and obviously from becoming a Christian, I'm a lot more at peace with myself, even though I can still everyone does get into negative mindsets and down days and stuff. It's just part of life, but obviously with God it's a lot better, I feel. So yeah, the 20s were like a mad roller coaster. 30s, obviously it's settled down when I kind of got settled in the married life, and hopefully 30s is a bit more settled. Obviously it's going to be a bit more of a roller coaster, kind of navigating my 30s, and hopefully don't have too many of the bad down times I had in my 20s. Hopefully, pray to God they're behind me, and me and my husband and my family just really enjoy like this next decade that God has in store for us. And yeah, so how did you feel like if you're in your late 30s? Tell me how your 30s went. How did your 30s go? What was your experience of being 30? Do you have any pressures to have kids, pressures to do this, and pressures to be a certain way in your 30s? I feel like I'll get into all this. I feel if a woman hasn't had kids by the time they're 30, I feel like a lot of people have had them in their 20s. sometimes in their teens and stuff like that. I'm not really judging or anything, but it's just telling it how it is. Everyone has who wants to have kids or who gets blessed to have kids, has them at different stages, just whatever the way life works out for them. Like if you're a woman who has hit the age of 30, even before that, and who haven't had kids by now, like I do feel like society pressurizes women and all the, like, when you having kids, which some people, like, it's just heartbreaking. Can't, like, girls struggling to have kids, or they're going through infertility, and it's heartbreaking. To pray to God don't have to go through that, but that's a heartbreaking thing. And people, and imagine like all that pressure to do, like, to have kids, and people like, when are you having kids, when's the baby's coming, I bet that's just really, really hard on them, and sadly kind of pressurizes women to have it all. Even men too. I think there's separate pressures for men too. If you're a man, watch this video, let me know what things that you felt pressured by life to do. Obviously me and my husband want kids, and we're gonna have kids, God willing. And but I do feel that a bit kind of like a bit down that I didn't have kids by now, but at the end of the day, I'm more like it just didn't work out that way, and it will work out. But I do, like, even in my 20s, I felt like the pressure, like everyone around me's having kids. Even before I went with Connor, I felt like even like this rambling there. Even when I was single, I felt like I want to settle down, and I have settled down, but I felt like society was like, you're not settled down in your 20s, come on. Like, society was like that. And for people who aren't at that milestone, it kind of makes them feel like crap when you have that pressure. And even if you want to, like, you have that pressure, and it makes you feel like crap. And I feel that this society does pressure you to do that sort of thing. But like, I believe like kids aren't for everyone, and like some things aren't for everyone. Some people don't even want to get married, or each their own. But I feel like society expects people to be a certain way, and shames them for not meeting that milestone. And I feel especially like disabled, if you have a disability, there's a certain thing, like, people either expect you to prove them wrong in a way. I don't know. I'm kind of getting deep into here, like, but or they kind of put you in a box. You can't do this. You can't. I'll even do a separate let's talk on this, like, disabilities and how society views that, and how, like, my experience of being like a legally blind woman growing up with a disability and everything like that. I'll probably do a video on that, and let's talk on that. But I feel that for disabled people, it's an opposite end of a spectrum. There's that spectrum where people just say, I'll just be happy, just do me little things and that kind of thing, and just be happy doing that. Because that's, in a way, they're saying that, like, they can't do that, which really, really annoys me. It really does, because just because you have this disability doesn't mean you can't do this. You may need some extra support to do some things, but you shouldn't be told no. Like, it's a bit like, if you have that ability and that, like, want to do that, and you feel it in your heart, it's right. Like, it's between you and God. Like, if you're disabled and you want to have kids, and you feel like you can handle them, and if you need that bit of extra support, and you feel like you'd love to have kids and you love to get married, go for it. Go for it. Don't let someone who, like, is putting you in this little box and say, no, you can't do this. You can't get a job. You can't have kids. You can't get married. You can't go traveling. There's support out there. Do it. Because I'm not living in this little box that people who are disabled people in. For no one. Like, I'm a child of God, and God wants everyone to have a fulfilled life, and obviously to overcome sin, but to have a fulfilled, joyful life and be fruitful and multiply. But obviously, if you don't want to have kids, even if you're disabled and you feel like you couldn't handle them and they're not for you, that's fine too. That is completely fine too. Like, kids aren't for everyone, and if you just want to stay single, the rest of your life, and you're happy to do that, and you're happy just to go to work and socialise and have a good family and friends around you, that's fine too. Even do mission trips if you're Christian. Even do mission trips with the church, or devote your life to, obviously, helping people regardless of your situation is important too. Even like checking on people, even just checking on people and asking how they are is helping. Like, even devoting yourself to bring people to God if you're a Christian, like, that's still amazing too. And you shouldn't, if just because you're disabled, you shouldn't just live in this wee box. People say you can't do this and you can't. It annoys me. Now I'm getting into a completely different topic, but I'm just telling you the pressures of life at a certain age. Like, sadly, has a certain time for everything, and if you don't meet that, and I'm going to get into the next point of this, the next spectrum. Like, it's completely opposite spectrums. I find I put in this little box. You can't do this. You can't do that. It was like this opposite one. No, you have to prove us wrong here. You have, like, I'm counting on you to prove this wrong. And if you don't do it by a certain time, we're going to view you as a failure. We're going to view you as this failure. For you back in that box where you belong. That's how, like, society to all disabled people. Like, say, if you don't have a child by 25, 30, you're a failure. Maybe you shouldn't, maybe you shouldn't just bother trying for them now. You're getting older, your kids are going to see you as a burden. Yeah, that's how society, people, well, society does, say, well, if you don't prove us wrong, then you're not capable. That kind of thing, and that's the wrong attitude too. Because everyone has their own time of, their milestones and stuff. So yeah, there's that extra pressure on people with a disability at a certain age too. I felt that myself, and yeah. So let me know, have you felt the same pressures as me? Even if you're disabled, if you have the same similar type of disability as me, or even if you're not, if you're from a different culture, there's pressures in different societies and different cultures of certain milestones and everything, and by certain ages and stuff like that, and there's all that. So there's pressures for everyone, unfortunately, everyone's kind of has a pressure from society to do things, and it's unfortunate, so it is. But let me know, what are your thoughts on 30? How you're finding, if you're on your 30s or you're about to be approaching 30, how you feeling about turning 30? And if you are in your 30s, how you finding the 30s? Good, bad, the ugly, let me know your thoughts and opinions and your feelings. And if you have passed the age of, the decade of 30, your 30s, tell me how your 30s went. Did you enjoy your 30s? Was it a good decade for you? What did you do in your 30s? I'm not here to judge if you didn't do the societal milestones. I'm just asking out of curiosity, how did your 30s go? Did you start your family in your 30s? Did you get married in your 30s? Do that in your 20s or your 40s? How did you find your 30s? Was it a good decade? Any words of wisdom and advice, and anything that you want to ask me or what I didn't touch on, let me know, please. And yeah, bit of a long rambly one, but I can just talk and talk and talk. I can just talk for Northern Ireland. I can talk for Ireland. I really can. And that's why I created this channel too, for an outlet. It's a hobby for me, just to kind of talk. I'm an extrovert, if I can speak. I'm an extrovert at heart, and talking is like therapy for me. I can just talk and talk and talk and vent it out and just burn off some of this excess energy I can have or I have. But yeah, I think I've covered literally everything. Just so excited to see where this decade has in store and what God has in store for me this decade, and just I'm so excited to hear you guys' responses and your comments, and let me know. And let me know, are you enjoying this Let's Talk series and how you find it? Is there anything you really want me to talk about? Any issue, like topic issue, anything? Let me know. Either comment down below. Sorry, I'm just fidgeting with this all the time because that's just one of the things I do. ADHD in the brain here, but that's my thing I do. But let me know, are you enjoying this Let's Talk series? Just let me know. Let me know. I want to hear all the gossip here. All the biz. Okay, I need to stop being crazy here. So hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you again for the next one. Stay gorgeous. God bless. Bye.